and I am thrilled to have you join me today. In our last episode by Olaoluwa, where she delved into the world of commercial law, exploring the crucial components of business contracts. Today, our spotlight shifts to the intellectual property of law. But as always, we start with the latest in the world of business news. So let's get started. Please stay. The scarcity of foreign currency in Nigeria has caused a 50% price increase in imported seeds, creating a $429.2 million opportunity for local seed companies to expand production and introduce new varieties. Despite a demand for 339.2 metric tons of seeds, the local capacity is just about 94 meters, leaving a major gap. Local seed companies like Premier Seeds and Notorious Seeds can capitalize on this by developing competitive seed varieties, particularly in the vegetable value chain, which still relies on 90% imported seeds. A recent law aims to boost investment and seed quality in Nigeria's agricultural industry, competitive seed varieties, particularly in the vegetable value chain, which still relies on 90% imported seed. The federal government of Nigeria is planning to raise the tax on sugar-sweetened beverages, SSB, from the current 10% to 20% SSB tax, which was introduced in the Finance Act of 2021 levies a 10 naira tax on each liter of all non-alcoholic and sugar-sweetened carbonated drinks. The government says that the increase in the tax is necessary to discourage the excessive consumption of SSBs, which are a major contributor to non-communicable diseases, NCDs such as obesity, diabetes, and heart diseases. Stakeholders have welcomed this decision, saying the current tax rate has not been effective reducing the consumption of SSBs. National Action on Sugar Reduction Coalition, NASR, has urged the government to channel the revenue from the tax to funding health care. World Health Organization WHO recommended that countries' tax SSBs should be at the rate of at least 20% the final retail price. Also, Nigerian government is yet to announce when the next tax rate will take effect. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will lead 39 prominent members of the Nigerian private sector to a Nigerian-Indian presidential roundtable and conference in New Delhi, India. The event, organized by the Nigerian High Commission in India in collaboration with the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, and the Nigerian India Business Council, NBC, will feature President Tinubu as the speaker. The Nigeria High Commissioner to India, Ambassador Ahmed Sule, has requested entry visas for these leading businessmen and CEOs. Notable attending include Aliko Dangote, Tony Elumelu, Femi Otedola, and other prominent figures from Nigeria business and industry. Moving away from Nigeria, Kenya lawmakers are proposing change to the Public Finance Management Act that would prevent foreign companies from participating in government tenders with what less than 5 billion shillings, limiting the labor service on the amendments and to address concern over foreign entrepreneurs, especially Chinese-owned ones, winning contracts meant for Kenya's firm. often at very low price, like constructing bridges for as little as 100 million shillings. The proposed change would prioritize local sourcing of building materials and restrict foreign contractors to labor-related contracts. This move is intended to support local contractors who have struggled to access government projects and compete with larger foreign firms for lucrative bids. Still on the foreign scene, Elon Musk, owner of X, has announced plans to introduce voice and video call features to the platform. This addition will put X in direct competition with apps like WhatsApp and Telegram, whereby users will not be needing phone numbers to make these calls, and the features will be compatible with various operating systems, including iOS, Android, Mac, and PC. Musk's move comes after several changes he implemented since taking over the platform, including introducing monetization for content creators and changing the company's name to X. The platform has also expanded its compensation program globally for content creators. Let's take a breather. We will be back shortly. Despite the U.S. sanctions, Iran's oil output and export have risen in August due to the successful sanctions evasion and leniency in enforcement. China's substantial purchases are said to be driving this surge. SBV International estimates August oil production at 3.15 million barrels per day, the highest since 2018, and export at early 2 million barrels per day, signaling recovery to pre-sanctions levels. Analysts attribute this rise to Iran's evasion tactics and U.S. leniency as relations improve. Concerns arise over potential effects on global oil prices and energy security due increased export. Lack of transparency in U.S. oil policy and Iran's skill at sanctions evasion added complexity to the situation, even as China is said to be a major buyer of the Iran oil. In Canada, the Bank of Canada is expected to keep the key interest rate steady at 5.00% on September 6, with a major of economists suggesting that this rate will remain unchanged until at least March 2024. However, a small but growing number of experts predict a slight rate increase. In July, inflation surpassed expectations, reacting 3.3%, and there are concerns about further price hike, posing a risk to the Bank of Canada's predictions that it has already hit its maximum rate. The housing market, which saw a 50% price surge during the pandemic and has only slightly decreased from its peak, it's displaying signs of revival. Despite a slowdown in the economic growth and a rise in unemployment, the Bank of Canada might maintain its current interest rate, while most experts anticipate no change in the bank's overnight rate. Some foresee a 25 basis point increase. The Bank of Canada policymakers will be considering multiple factors in the coming months before making a decision about interest rate. Thank you for staying with us. We will be going on a short break and be back with market trend. Stay tuned. let's bring you to the latest stock exchange. At yesterday's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange (NJX), a total of over 620 million shares were traded in 7,972 deals, with a corresponding market value of 7 billion naira. This reflects a 3% decrease in trading volume, an 8% decrease in turnover, and a 21% decrease in the number of deals compared to the previous trading days. And now, the current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange stands at 36.4 trillion naira. Out of the 119 NJX listed equities that participated in the trading, there were 31 gained and 19 losses. Leading the gainers was Nigerian Exchange Group, which experienced a 10% increase in share price, closing 26.40 naira per share. This was followed by Seplat Petroleum Development Co. at plus 9.95%, Transnationwide Expert plus 9.38%, and University Press plus 9.32%. Now, on the losing side, Motorverse Mining and Exploration recorded the highest price depreciation on the day, with a 10% decrease in its end-of-day price to 2.70 naira per share. National Salt Company minus 9.81%, Honeywell Flour Mills minus 8.11%, and May and Baker Nigeria also experienced price decrease at minus 7.27%. The most actively traded stock of the day includes Sterling Bank with a trading volume of 161 million shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria at 1.36 million, Fidelity Bank at 57.6 million, and FTN Coca Processors 47.2 million. Moving on to the conclusion of yesterday's trading session on the Nairobi Security Exchange (NSE), a total of over 16 million shares were traded across 1,339 deals, with a corresponding market value of more than 236 million shillings. This marked an 18% increase in trading volume, a 24% increase in turnover, and 4% increase in the number of deals compared to the previous NSE trading day. And now the current market capitalization of the Nairobi Security Exchange stands at 1.45 trillion shillings. Among the 53 NSE list equity that participated in trading, there were 21 gains and 24 losers. TPS, Eastern Africa, Serena gained with notable 8.23% increase shares, closing at 12.50 shillings per share, followed by HF Group at plus 5.31%. Britam Holdings plus 4.63% and Ever Ready East Africa plus 4.29%. On the losing side, Ilam Fahari Etal experienced the highest price decline of the day, with a 7.93% decrease in its end-of-the-day price to 8.36 shilling per share. Limuru Tea Company at minus 7.5%, Liberty Kenya Holdings minus 7%, and Williamson Tea Kenya at minus 6.56%, recording price decline. The most actively traded stock of the day includes Ilam Fahari Idret with trading volume of 10.2 million shares, followed by Equity Group Holdings 1.63 million, Safaricom 1 million, and KCB Group 965,600. In the recent update from the commodities market, the value of wheat stands at 576.50 US cents per unit. The enduring appeal of gold remains clear as it remains a significant price of $1,950.72 US per unit, following a similar path Silver is tracking gold's movement with a valuation of $24.41 per unit, while copper is slightly behind, priced at $3.78 per pound. Shilling to the energy sector, Brent crude oil is presently valued at $86.75 US dollars. And we wrap up the news with currency update. In the ever-changing landscape of currency exchange, the central bank presents the Naira's value against major international currencies. Those interested in the US dollars will find it priced at 756.5 Naira and buyers and at 757.5 Naira for selling. On the other side, the British pound tells a unique story as those looking to buy will see it at 958.6 Naira, while sellers receive 959.9 Naira. Meanwhile, the euro is valued at 820.5 Naira and sellers can expect 821.6 Naira. Thank you for joining us. Upcoming is Business Insight and is promised to be an enlightened discussion on intellectual property law. We'll be diving into various aspects as we explore this topic. Don't miss out on this engaging and informative discussion. I am Grace Komalafe. Stick around. No, it was slow and I was...
There's been a lot of fundraise, especially in the tech environment in Nigeria, and there's every need to be cautious, not to think that the fundraise itself is the end point. It's a means to an end. If the job is 100%, the fundraise is just 20. There's still 80% to go. So what you certainly do not do is to raise funds and shortly thereafter go onto social media and brag about the brand new car you bought or the the apartment you've moved into in Banana Island, it doesn't make for good optics. And unfortunately, when you really need the benefit of doubt, you might not get it from your investors. You don't raise money and then ask, so what should I do with the money? At that time, it's too late, you've lost the plot. When you raise money, you would have raised it based on the back of an agreement with your investor, clearly outlining how the money will be spent and how the returns will come. It's imperative to stick to that plan. And if anything changes in the environment or in the business and you have to pivot or there's going to be a significant change, it's imperative to then get the buy-in of the investor. The investors are not philanthropists. This is what we need to understand. They are not giving grants. The investors are astute businessmen who are not necessarily content with the normal rate of returns of placing money in the bank or buying bonds. And that's why they take the risk of putting their funds in a risky venture, such as a startup, which has no track record. What we have to bear in mind is that when the investor gives you any amount of money to invest in the business, come rain or shine, he will typically ask you for 3 times of that in 5 years. So let's do the math. Let's say that I took $1 million as a raise from an investor in, say, 2015, when the dollar was 200 naira per dollar. 5 years on, in 2020, I will be expected to return to that investor $3 million. $3 million in 2020 at 440 per dollar is about 1.32 billion naira. Now, if you keep the money for longer, then it's even getting more tricky because the exchange rate is falling and you have to do more to pay back. Let's put that figure aside. Bear it in mind, 1.32 billion. If I had approached the bank in 2015 to borrow the same amount of $1 million, at that time it was 200 million naira. So I borrowed 200 million naira. Interest rate is 20%. In 5 years, that's another 200 naira. So what I'll return to the bank will be 200 naira interest plus 200 million naira that I borrowed. I'll be returning 400 million naira. And then compare this in the same period with someone who raised money and has to return 1.32 billion naira. This gives you a sense when I say that raising the money is just the tip of the iceberg. If your business has not reached an inflection point, if your business has not proved this concept, then venture capital money may not necessarily be for you unless there is a match, which means you are earning in the currency that you borrowed in. So you borrowed in dollars and then you are earning in dollars. Or you have what we call a forward contract with a bank to hedge against exchange loss if it is available. But if not, then you take VC money when you have captured the cost of building the business such that any additional customer is a contribution margin. In that case, it makes sense to scale very quickly because every customer is adding to the bottom line. That is when it makes sense to take the VC money because then they are sharing in the profit and they are helping you to grow the business quickly to deliver that profit. Bear in mind, raising money is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. Pursue that end.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to Business Insights My name is Grace Komalafe. Today we will be looking at intellectual property law. Intellectual property law is a brand of legal rules and regulations that deals with the protection of creation of minds. These creations can take various forms such as invention, artistic works, literary piece, and symbols, designs, and all of that. So even trade secrets used by businesses. The primary purpose of intellectual property law is to strike a balance between encouraging innovation, creativity, and economic growth, while also ensuring the creators and inventors are rewarded for their efforts. To take care of this topic today, we'll have a legal practitioner joining us via Zoom to answer some of our questions. And a lot of people may have been dealing with how do I go about this, what is this all about, and many more. Today we'll be shedding light into all of this. So we have a legal practitioner and principal manager at Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, in person of Lawal Ibrahim Mekwata. Am I correct? Good morning.
Yes, you are correct. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Yes. We'll go straight into the question. We'd like you to tell us what right does copyright gives to creators?
The creator of the copyright has, in short, he has the right to exclusive use of the copyright he created or invented.
Okay.
That is the right to use, the right to assign, the right to perform, and all sorts of rights. So the owner of the copyright can assign those rights to a third party to use it. He can also grant he can use it himself exclusively without anybody using it. So whoever that uses the copyright without his permission, he will be found guilty of infringement of that right.
Oh, thank you.
So in short, the right of exclusivity is what is granted to the owner of the copyright.
Okay, so you just mentioned infringements, and I want to ask, how does copyright infringement occur in digital age? Because we have a lot of content out there. You see people just go online, pick some stuffs, and they use it. So how does copyright infringement occur in digital age, in this digital age?
You know, in Nigeria, we have a legal framework that regulates and defines such rights. That is the Nigerian Copyright Act, Cap 28 of 2004, Laws of the Federation 2004. That law in Section 1 defines what rights enjoys, which I've earlier explained. So it also further in that Section 15 also defines some of the areas in which the right can be adopted, can be translated, can be this. So those rights, as I said, the right to use, the right to assign, the right to exploit the economic value of the right, are those rights that are protected. So when you go to internet or anything and then see any copyright and then use it without the owner's permission, then you will be guilty of the infringement. And the owner will have a right over you for damages. It could also be, in some cases, even could be a criminal offense. However, let me quickly point out that there are some exceptions to this right.
Okay.
That is, if you are using it for educational purposes,
okay.
For instance, you are writing a research paper or in educational setting, the only condition is for you to acknowledge the original owner of that right. You will not be infringement. And then also, I think these are the exceptions where the right cannot be infringed.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. I like to ask, is it necessary to register a work to get copyright protection? Because really we have a lot of content out there. You know, people they just do things, put them online, and they just feel they are good. So what is the importance of registering a work? Or if I may put it this way, is it necessary to register a work to get a copyright protection?
Yes, for you to enjoy that right, under the act that I have earlier mentioned, you must register it,
Okay.
because the Nigerian Copyright Section Act itself makes provision for the registration. If you don't register it, you won't have the benefit of enjoyment under that act. But however, there is also a right that you can enjoy under the law of tort, that is passing off. If somebody, that is another different thing. That is assuming you have not registered it under the act. You can also have a protection under the law of tort, that is passing off. So, in essence, for you to enjoy the benefit of your work, to enjoy the copyright, it is better if you register it properly.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that there are several aspects of intellectual property law, and we just
Property,
spoke about copyright. So I
the
want us to
copyright,
talk
yes.
about patent law. So I know that patent law are granted for new and useful inventions or processes. But could you please take us through the process? So help us discuss how patent laws protect new invention, the process, and the useful ideas.
The patent law is being regulated by the Nigerian Patent and Design Act law, PCAP 2 of 2004. And that law also sets out the framework of how patents can be regulated. Generally, patent simply means a new invention that is useful for and it can be turned into a commercial use. If you invented something for the commercial use, and you have the exclusive right to enjoy it, you haven't registered it under that act that I've earlier mentioned. So the law protects you and gives you the exclusive use of those things for your own benefit. So from the explanation I've made here is that invention was novel, that is, it must be new. Nobody has invented it somewhere. You are the first inventor of it. Secondly, it must be something of useful nature for
Okay.
industrial use. So there has to be usefulness in that what you have invented for you to get the protection and then the exclusive use of that invention. I think that's
Okay, so
the
could
aspect
you
of
take
the
us through the
patent.
process of obtaining a patent?
So when a patent or design is created, you will be required to present it for registration to the patent registry. It is normally situated in the Ministry of Industry at the Federal Secretariat. When you present it, they will look at the invention and then they will examine those aspects we have mentioned. It is novel, nobody has presented it for you before. Then secondly, they will look at its usefulness for industrial use. So if those things are agreed, then you will be registered and then a patent is created for you to have the exclusive use of it, having obtained the registration. So you have the protection of the law with respect to the exclusive use of that.
All right, thank you very much. You know, I hear a lot of utility patents and design patents. Could you please tell us the difference between this both? And probably also share with us how long does patent protection usually last?
Firstly, let me explain. There is a design and also there is a patent, patent and also a industrial design. Like patent user, the way I can just give the explanation is something like a tangible that you can see it, maybe something um, like element that has a physical nature that you can be able to see it. Then for a industrial design, also is another aspect of intellectual property. It all defines a process of how a thing can be used in an industrial setting.
Okay.
So the difference there is that this one, it may be a concept that is already a process that defines a process from this to this, which is also registrable under the design. So as to the time limit for the use, under the Patent Act, it is granted a patent for 20 years for you, patent and then invention. You have a protection to use it exclusively for 20 years, after which it now becomes what may be described as something for public, under the public domain.
All right,
So
thank
exclusive
you.
use is for 20 years.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, you are watching Business Insight, and we've been in talks with a legal practitioner and principal manager at Corporate Affairs Commission and person of the WAL, Ibrahim Makwata. I'm sorry. Makwata. Okay, so, and we have been speaking on intellectual property law. He's been able to speak around copyright, patents, and quickly we want to move to trademark law. Trademark law are symbols, names, or phrases that distinguish and identify goods and services of one business from those of others. Could you please explain the purpose of trademarks in protecting brands and preventing consumer confusion?
Yes. Trademark in the aspect of intellectual property is also very important. Just like the name of the business, it is the identity that one can identify such a business. When you mention Dangote cement, for instance, you will see their logo and image. So that logo and design is their own trademark. Wherever it is, you know that this is where the business is, and it's used to be identified as such. Then Nigeria Trademark Act also defined the process for the registration. First, just like we have earlier mentioned, when you are using a name for a business name, when you have a trademark, either a design or a logo, it will be carry out a search of that name.
Okay.
That nobody has registered same or similar trademark at the trademark register. Then when the name is approved, you will register it. Then you now obtain a approval, maybe a approval in principle.
Okay.
It will be granted to you. Then thereafter, there will be a publication. Then after the publication, the name will be registered finally for you for your own use. I think that's the process. And then when you have exclusive use, when the name is registered,
Yes.
you have the protection of the law to use the name exclusively. So anybody that uses that mark or anything similar to that mark, you have a right against that person for the protections of the name.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, I really want to ask this question. Is it everything that you can trademark, like anything? So I think there's a need for us to know the kind of things that can be trademarked and how trademark help consumers to make informed decisions.
Of course, in the world where we have a lot of competitions and partners, if you are able to establish your company with its own identity and then also the trademark, to protect that in there, you will create something that a customer or your consumer will be able to identify you with it. Not only the name of the company, also the name of that product, so that you will be identified with that logo. So it is because of that that you have to design such a logo that will be catching, that wherever somebody sees that logo, it will be able to identify that, yes, this is the product coming from this particular company. Just for instance, like you have an MTN now, it has a logo of its name, MTN. So these are the protection of these are the trademark that you're supposed to register and get the protections of the law under it. So in essence, to protect the name and the product of the company, you need to trademark and register either by using logo or an identifying name, and such names should be registered. One, to protect your goods from being counterfeited by other people, and also wherever that logo is presented, the customer will identify you as the owner of that product.
All right, thank you very much. You talked about logo and sign to differentiate a brand. So before we go on a short break, I'd like to ask you those questions. What is the difference
Thank you.
Sorry for that break in transmission. So I was asking earlier what the difference between the TM symbol and the R symbol. And if we still have with us via Zoom, would like to know, a legal practitioner and a principal manager at Corporate Affairs Commission has been discussing with us on intellectual property law, in person of Lawal Ibrahim Mekwata. I'm sure I'm correct. All right, so
Correct.
I asked you earlier, before the break in transmission, kindly tell us the difference between the TM symbol and the R. Hello, are you there?
Hello? Could you
Yes.
come on?
Hello.
You said the difference
The
between
TM symbol, the difference between the
the trademark
TM
symbol.
symbol and the R.
Okay. Um, the the TM symbol is the trademark register, and then the R is usually the logo for the registration. You see, when you are registering with the trademark registry, sometimes you will be allowed to bring the name as it is, and then also the logo, which represents also the register um, products you are carrying on. And I also want to point out that the registration for the trademark itself, you have to have an underlying registration of your company or a business name that will own that trademark
Okay.
for you to get it registered. So that TM is the trademark, maybe just like the name, you have it. And I don't want to be citing a lot of examples. Like, for instance, if CAC decides to register its own name, CAC as a name, then the trademark is the logo, the round shape that is there, and then the name CAC as it is written as the registered trademark. That you always carry an R mark.
Okay. Okay, thank you very
Um,
much. Yes, so
uh,
like I said earlier, we have different aspects of intellectual property law. And this time around, we want you to help us talk about trade secret law. So can you describe what trade secret law is and how they are protected under the law?
a trade secret law is a how do I say it's an evolving protections of intellectual property involved. Some countries have also made legislation on it, like America, Africa here. I think we have Uganda that have a trade law legislation. But what it simply means is that when you have a trade secret, a product that you want to prevent of economic value, that you want it from being protected from being exploited by other people. For instance, let me give a simple example like the KFC um, product for making their chicken and so on. Those things are what we call trade secret, or the Coca-Cola mixture of how it is being compounded. These are the trade secrets. So a legislation in some countries are made to protect. You don't want it to be exploited by others to their disadvantage and so on. So the law recognizes that you that invented those secrets, those trade secrets, you have a protection of the law against it. Well, however, in Nigeria, where we don't have a specific legislation that regulates such aspect of intellectual property law, you can get a protection of the law by entering into agreement with the people that you are partners or you are employee and people that are working under you or directly under you. And it is called non-disclosure agreement
Okay.
or a non-commitment agreement. So that agreement will prevent them from using it even after or disclosing the content of that secret um, aspect of your businesses or commercial use, even after leaving your employment.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, how does businesses typically protect their trade secrets? And I also want to ask, what happens if a trade secret is accidentally revealed?
Well, we talked about that. Just as I just mentioned now,
Yes.
in Nigeria, we prevent that by entering into an agreement,
Okay.
a written agreement with the people that you believe that will come into contact that will have information about your secret, whether you are employee, you are employer, or you are partners. You can enter a non-disclosure or non-committal agreement with them so that even when they leave your employment, they cannot disclose that aspect of your trade secret to any third party or use it for their own purposes. There are plethora cases that courts upheld such agreement. So, in essence, if somebody works for you, either as an independent contractor, you employ somebody to work in your company, and then you have a fear that he will discover certain aspects of your activity, you can enter independent agreement from the main contract that is going to do, and then or it will form part of that contract that you will now execute an agreement for non-disclosure of your trade secret to any third party or to use it anywhere. I think that's the only way you can protect trade secrets in Nigeria for now, since we don't have any specific legislation that regulates that aspect of the law.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move to the last lap of this conversation, which is also very key. Counterfeit and piracy. We get to see a lot of counterfeit products out there, and you get to see people pirate other people's products, let's say services. So here we want you to tell us about counterfeits and piracy. There's counterfeiting and piracy. So what's the difference between counterfeiting and piracy?
Like counterfeiting, like just trying to do a product similar to that other one. You didn't claim that this one is the same product as that other one, but you now want to counterfeit it to mislead the consumer that this product is coming from that particular product. I have earlier mentioned by way of passing that sometimes some of these protections, maybe if it is a literary work or musical work, you have to have a copyright about it. If it is an invention, you have to have it patented or get it under register under design. So if you have a counterfeit and then the original is registered as a copyright or it has a patent, then you have the full protection of the law to do it. Be that as it may, even under the law, the common law, general law, you can also seek the protection of the law under the law of tort for protection of the counterfeiting product and also for piracy. Piracy is for literary work, that is, pirated somebody If you have a similar, you copy it word to word and then present it to public as if you are the original owner without acknowledging the original owner of the product. So these are the differences between the two, and then how the law protects you in each case.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly take the last question before we go for today. We'd like you to tell us how this affects businesses and consumers and possible strategies to combat counterfeiting in the modern world.
Yes, counterfeiting and piracy affect business, intellectual properties in the business world so many ways. One, it prevents the owner of the invention or the owner of the copyright from enjoying the fruit of his labor. Somebody will just be getting things out of what somebody else devoted times and resources to create or to invent. And then thirdly, it also confuses the consumer as to which product is authentic or not. And in that process, it also injures the consumer in so many ways. Because when you use a counterfeit product, it is not as the benefit you would derive is not the same as the benefit in the original product. So these are some of the things. But the way we can prevent this in a country like ours is to strengthen the law to make sure we adopt a legal framework that is comparable to the international standard. The intellectual property now is one of the major sources of internally generated revenue for every other country. If not, I think it's the highest. So the government has to develop a capacity to develop the framework in order to meet that aspect so that inventors and creators can be encouraged to bring out more products to the people and also enjoy the fruit of their labor.
All right,
Not
thank
only that,
you.
enforcement mechanism
Yes.
also should be strengthened so that we have a legal, not only the legal framework, the enforcement mechanism also should be there so that people can easily get their address when continuing.
Thank you very much, Lawal Ibrahim Mekwata from Corporate Affairs Commission, a legal practitioner, principal manager. Thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate you coming around. And this is where we'll call it a day on Business Inside on Souq News. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News. Until next time, I remain Grace Komalafe. Do have an amazing day. Bye.